Welcome, trainers, to our second season playing through each Pokemon generation. We have already conquered the Kanto region and are now making our way through the Johto region. My name is Chris, I'm the last trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Crystal. I am also joined by my two fellow co-hosts.
My name is Sean, I'm the Fire Breather trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Gold.
And my name is Dustin, I'm the Gentleman trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Silver. And together, we are known as the Trainer Trio.
In our last episode, we acquired the Zephyr badge and beat Falkner. And in today's episode, we're going to cover everything leading up to the second gym, which includes Route 32, the ruins of Alph, the Union Cave, Route 33, Azalea Town, which includes the Slowpoke Well, and the gym.
I guess the first thing we should talk about is right after the first gym, we get told by one of the assistants about an egg, and we get an egg.
Yeah, so in Violet City and the Poke Center, you do get your first Pokemon egg, which, since there's a lot of new mechanics in the second generation of Pokemon, I guess this is a good way to really introduce you to, like, hey, now there's Pokemon eggs, and mentioned earlier that Pikachu was an evolution, so it has to make you wonder, are we going to see Pikachu's pre-evolution for the first time here?
No, we will not.
The one thing I noted about the professor is that he runs away after he gives you the egg, and I thought that was rather comical. He's like, here you go, goodbye.
And they also mentioned, I did catch on to this one line that they said, you are the only person that they can rely on to hatch this egg. And I'm like, wow, literally the Professor Elm gave you your first Pokemon not too long ago, and you're a kid, and you're the only person that can hatch this egg.
It's so special. I love it. I hope this Pokemon ends up being really good. Should we all add it to our team?
You guys could add it. I don't know about that. I mean, it might be a little too early to ask if everyone hatched the egg.
We'll have to find out.
My egg did hatch in this episode, so I'll tell you where it hatched.
All right, I guess when you get to that point, you just have to say, oh!
And just cut everyone off because you got to watch my egg hatch.
Exactly, the egg animation. But now we could go into 32.
You go into Route... Is it not Route 36 that you have to go through first?
I guess we could say, did anyone go to Route 36 and see that strange tree?
That's what I did first. I went over to Route 36 because also you can catch a couple Pokemon there. Silver has access to Vulpix, and then Crystal and Gold have access to Growlithe. Vulpix is obviously a good Pokemon. Growlithe is considered one of the best Pokemon in the game, although I will not be adding it to my team. Also, you can find a Stantler in Gold and Silver, which is pretty average, normal type in my opinion. I did go over. There was a tree. I tried to touch it, and it just started dancing. It was kind of strange.
It's interesting how this generation has different types of obstacles now. Instead of a little twig, now they have like a rock-style tree, I guess.
I know. This is confusing, because you would assume you'd get cut and you'd be able to go past it, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time. So going there, I mean, you can go down south towards the ruins of Alph. What do you guys think of the ruins of Alph? I thought this was going to be a really cool side area of the game, and I was mildly disappointed.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much missed potential here. You'll come to find out as you get like more HMs, you could traverse it more, but the puzzle itself is kind of boring, just rearranging the tablet thing to make the full Pokemon. It's boring and all you get are unknown. The first time you encounter, you think it has some greater purpose, but then you realize it's just one of the worst Pokemon of all time.
It's really bad, and there's no reward for catching them. If I'm correct, then if you catch 3 of them, you can get a new module to your Pokedex, which shows you which letters of the alphabet you've collected. And then if you catch them all, you get the ability to get a special printing ability with the Game Boy printer, which I don't think any of us have at this point. That's so disappointing. You would expect in a completionist type of thing where you have to catch 26 different types of the same Pokemon that it'd be a little bit more interesting, but not really.
As the Pokemon completionist, the Poke Hunter, retired, of course, I'm the gentleman trainer this season, but there is no reason to capture more than one of these. Once you capture one, it just fills in your Pokedex, and it's just interesting that they did decide to make a full alphabet of Pokemon as things that you can capture.
Just disappointing. Did you guys do the little slide puzzle at all, or no?
I did it, and I caught unknown, okay? You caught me to say it.
You caught a Pokemon?
I caught, actually, 4 unknown. Nope, I'm sorry, 5 unknown, and I logged the ones I caught. The first one I got was the F1, And then I got an E, O, K, and A. So if there's any Scrabble fans, you could try and put a word together with that.
What finally encouraged you to start catching Pokemon? Pokemon that don't matter.
For the unknown, I just thought, why not? Only time you're ever going to encounter them. Caught a couple, and then I got bored and I left.
Going into the puzzle, like before you even capture the unknown, you have to solve this puzzle that's basically a Pokemon that hid on the sea floor, eyes on its back, scan the area. It did take me forever to at least solve it. Since now I'm playing on the Game Boy, it's a lot harder to see. So I wasn't playing in the best of light, and I had no idea what I was actually doing. So I decided, all right, I'm going to stop, talk to the girl, ask it for a hint, and it's just the exact same thing. So I went back to the puzzle, and I thought with modern gaming, the puzzles would save your progress that you had. But in this case, it did not. It was starting from scratch, and that kind of frustrated me. How about you, Chris? How's your puzzle solving?
Almost the same thing happened to me. And if anyone has seen what this puzzle looks like, it kind of looks correct sometimes when it's not due to where the eye placements are. And I swear I got it right. I was so confused. So I was like, okay, this is right. And I exited out. Nothing happened. And then I had to go back into it and redo it correctly the second time. So yeah, I was a little annoyed.
Do you know what the Pokemon was inside the puzzle? Because I had no idea.
It's Kabuto.
Kabuto, if it's like on its back.
Oh, it's because I haven't seen a Kabuto yet in these games. So that's what I'm blaming it on.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have access to any of the fossil Pokemon in this game, so you won't see it.
Boo.
See, but that's just the deeper meaning with Runes of Alph. You know, this would have been a perfect place to, if you complete the puzzle, you go down, you're able to find a fossil or something else other than just unknown that have nothing to do or no improvement or no reason to actually catch them. It's just so frustrating. Or even just like a legendary here. Just so much missed potential.
Going into it further, just inside the history, they've been researching this ruins for like 10 years. And apparently the ruins is 1500 years old. And you're the first person to solve this puzzle, which is very interesting. Just a kid just wandering in here and just bam, you've now shown the world unknown for the first time.
Well, we are the main character.
And then there are other puzzles that you can solve that are much harder later on. So maybe we should try those once we get those HM accesses.
But like, why?
To see if we could actually do them.
I already caught more than enough unknown.
You get to be able to do an Aerodactyl, a Ho-Oh, and an Ammonite.
Yeah, no desire.
Says the one who caught 5 unknown.
It's literally like so many Pokemon you caught compared to your last game.
Very true.
You only got like 30 max.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see what happens throughout this run.
Going south down Route 32, it's mostly just a throughway into the next dungeon. I know there's a couple Pokemon you can get here. Notably, Mareep is in Gold and Silver, which is one of the best Pokemon that you can get in this game as well. And then I believe this is the first time that we're having access to Wooper, which can evolve into Quagsire, which that typing's pretty good.
Yes, and you better bet your bottom dollar that I caught a Mareep and threw it on my team. I named it Pikafluff because it kind of looks like a fluffy Pikachu. So it's going to be a very valuable member on my team, especially if you guys remember from the first episode how my team was deathly bad against water Pokemon. Mareep now gives me an advantage against water, and so hopefully I won't lose many more battles in 3 moves.
I also saw Mareep for the first time, and when I tried to capture it, I ran out of Pokeballs. So I did have to go back to the Pokemart to buy some, and I eventually caught one. And I did name my own Mareep Cap Electra, or Captain Electra, because it's thunder and whatnot. And I knew Sean would also be capturing a Mareep. We'll have to see if I take this Mareep into the battle, because for our listeners, if we do take a duplicate Pokemon into the battle, whoever wins gets to keep him.
Dustin knows I'm going to win so early, so he has to bide his time.
I have to, maybe I'm planning not to bring it in this first round. But when the time is right, when I know that Sean won't have it, I'll take it in.
Yeah, lucky for me that I can't get access to a Mareep, so you guys are good there.
Talking about Pokemon, this is where I have a Pokedex highlight, a new section of our podcast. I'm going to be highlighting Wooper because I did capture Wooper. Its Pokédex reads, when it walks around on the ground, it coats its body with a slimy, poisonous film. And now I just don't even want to try and imagine what that's like, trying to be a trainer of a Wooper. Imagine it's running off and you have to try and capture it. Just a slimy, poisonous film.
I would never guess that. I also love Wooper. It's just such a dopey little happy Pokemon, and now I'm realizing that it could poison its user.
Whoever touches it. And I do have another Pokédex entry, because I did capture a Hoppip. And I named this Hoppip Baron Hop. So if you guys get my naming scheme, I do give titles to Pokemon I think I'll take to the end, so we'll see how that goes. And Hoppip's Pokédex entry reads, its body is so light, it must grip the ground firmly with its feet to keep from being blown away. So that is also an interesting entry, just because at the slightest blow of the wind, it can just tumble down the hill.
Your name is a little bit more creative than mine. I named it beer, like hops, an ingredient in beer. I like bear and hop better.
Do you guys have any stories about, I guess, any of the trainers we fight along here?
Yes, actually, before we go into the trainers, I did forget to mention too, very nice quality of life update with just capturing Pokemon is it does show a little Pokeball by the Pokemon that you capture, which in the previous generation did not, and this is just a good staple in the Pokemon genre because it really helps to know which Pokemon you've captured if you want to like capture them all.
That's so funny that you mentioned that because that is a staple, but because I caught no Pokemon the last time around, I didn't even notice that that wasn't included in the first generation.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's going to be a staple throughout every single Pokemon generation. So that's another nod to Gen 2, which introduces mechanics that are going to be carried on for a while.
Yeah, but another new mechanic for this game is for the Pokemon trainers, they all have names now, which I don't know if we mentioned last time, but in this case, I met someone called Picnicker Liz, and basically you interrupt their phone call and then just immediately went to a battle with them. So I felt pretty bad about that.
Since you're mentioning that, do you guys know the name of the first trainer? Do you know who it was?
No.
The one that sticks in my head is Youngster Joey. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is the first trainer you fight in Gen 2. And so the first, I guess, basic trainer to be named is Youngster Joey. He's a celebrity.
It's like the one in Gen 1 that says he likes shorts and wearing shorts a lot. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I remember that guy.
The Shorts crew?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of them. I like to wear shorts.
Real quickly on Picnicker Liz, I wrote down a little note that I thought it was funny that she's being interrupted being on her phone, just kind of predicting Gen Z culture there. But then also, it looked like it was pretty intentional that they put her on her phone because I don't know if you guys are aware, but like phone connectivity was a small part of, I think, just Pokemon Crystal, but potentially Gold and Silver in the Japanese version of the game. And plus, you have the cell phones in the game, so they're really trying to play that up right there.
I never knew that about the cell phone connectivity in the Japanese games. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's actually how you triggered a couple different events. And it was only available in the Japanese versions because cell phones were still not popular amongst kids, or at least middle school age kids in the United States at that time. So those features were never brought over to the US.
Wow, that's pretty cool that they had that. Makes you wonder, like, how I've been growing up in Japan when this came out. Because it does sound like, obviously, it was made in Japan. They have just so many more features, so many different events compared to just the Western audience.
Did you guys talk to Liz after you defeated her?
Nope.
I did not on this case.
So in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, you have to talk to a trainer a second time to register their phone numbers in your Pokegear.
I remember Heart Gold, it just happens after you fight them, but I was wondering why they were getting added in this one. But it's too late now for me to add anyone. I'm not going to go back.
And what does adding them into your phone do? Or the Pokegear?
Sometimes it does nothing, but other times they can call you and tell you that they want a rematch, or there's a mechanic in Gen 2 called swarming. And one of the trainers actually in this route, Fisher Ralph, can do that. You'll register him in your phone and he can call you later and say, hey, there's like a bunch of quillfish nearby. They're really swarming around here. You should come by and catch one. And when he calls you and says that, it changes the encounters in that pool of water so that the old rod has a 15% chance of catching a quillfish when it normally has a 0% chance. And That's just one example. There's a couple different swarms in the game, but they have to be triggered by phone calls. They really thought of a lot of different things in Gen 2. And that's all I have on trainers.
I also have another note in Route 32 where I did receive a miracle seed from a person for beating the first gym. I didn't record which person this was, but this is an item that increases grass type moves. And it's nice because this is also the first time in Pokemon where you can like look at item and it just explains what it does. So compared to like before, when you like received item, you'd have to like go through all these hoops just to try and figure out what each item does. There's also another person. Did you meet a girl who asked if it is Friday?
I don't remember.
No, I think that's only when you're playing on a Friday.
Oh, because I noticed they said it. This was before it was a Friday, so I made a note of it. And then I later came there and on Friday, and they mentioned like, I'm Frida of Friday. Here's a poison barb for you, which makes poison type moves stronger. So on this route, you're able to get 2 items that you can just make your Pokemon hold and just to make their power stronger. Chris, did you get the Miracle Seed?
I did get the Miracle Seed, and I gave it to my Chica just to power up her grass moves. But the Poison Barb, no. I actually didn't even encounter Frida, but I knew that's a thing in these games that sometimes you have to go to places on certain days. So good thing that our clocks and batteries are working properly.
I know, I feel like if I was not part of this podcast, I would not do that. But since we're taking notes while we're playing the game, it's just easy for me to just highlight a section and be like, hey, this person wants you to be on Friday. And then I could just review my notes and be like, oh, I can go there now.
Makes you appreciate the effort that they put into this.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's definitely a lot more time sensitive than obviously the first generation, where you have to do things on certain days at certain times, which is fun, but also does give you like an added level of anxiety of just being like, oh, like if you're playing on Saturday, you have to wait a full week to figure out what this special thing is.
That's a pain in the butt.
Moving on, the last note I have of this route is there is a Poke Center at the very end, and that is where you receive an Old Rod. So had to capture another Pokemon, which was a Magikarp after getting the Old Rod.
And then at that same time is when if you talk to someone about Slowpoke tails and he's trying to sell you some for an outrageous amount of money. Did anyone buy one?
I wanted to, but why does my wallet not hold enough money?
If you do say yes, he does respond, I thought kids were loaded these days, which is like...
So you said yes? He's trying to buy him with no money?
I had to see what would happen. The Slowpoke tail was 1 million Pokedollars, so that is way beyond what you could normally get.
Do you guys want to move on to Union Cave?
Yeah. When I first went to Union Cave, because I'm also playing on a Game Boy Advance and it's very dark, I thought we needed Flash for it. And so I didn't have a Pokemon with Flash. And so I left, I gave my Hoot Flash, I went back in. Well, when I gave a Flash, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to try exploring the dark cave a little bit now. So I actually went back to the dark cave and used Flash and then realized that there really wasn't much there. I got bored. And so that's when I came back and I tried to use Flash in the Union Cave to realize it wouldn't work. So I wasted so much time doing all that for nothing.
This is where I have the advantage that I'm playing on a GameCube on the Game Boy player, so I have a nice big TV which is properly lit, unlike your guys' unlit Game Boys.
Yeah, we've already encountered 2 times where the screen brightness has affected our gameplay.
Union Cave is relatively small. I was surprised how short it is. I know a couple small things. You can get some new items, including TM39 Swift, which I actually did get, and I taught Swift to my Hootie because it gets same type attack bonus, and poor Hootie's pretty bad right now. And the other thing is you can catch Onyx in the wild now, which we could trade for previously. And then also in Gold and Crystal, you can now get a Sandshrew.
I know this was where I met the trainer Hiker Daniel, where after you beat him, he does mention that he was conned into buying some Slowpoke tails. He feels sorry for the poor Pokemon. Which I'm just like, why would you say that? Like, why would you even buy Slowpoke tails if you feel sorry for the Pokemon now?
Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he thought they grow back.
Maybe we'll find out later, actually. But that also means like you beat him and you found out that this guy has 1,000,000 Pokédollars to spend. That's crazy this early on.
Yeah, and he only gives you like 350 Pokedollars for beating him. What a jerk.
Oh, he spent all his Pokedollars on the tail.
That's why he has to resort to battling against kids to earn that money back.
It was in Union Cave where I had a couple evolutions happen. My Cinder evolved, so that's my Cyndaquil evolved to Kulava. And then also, which was I thought was pretty crazy, was my Mary also evolved into Fluffy. I don't know, they both evolved pretty low level. I remember I noted that Cyndaquil evolved at level 14, which to me is just crazy. I feel like that's such an early level to already have a second stage evolution.
Yeah, it's quite strange how Cyndaquil evolves at 14, Chikorita at 16, and Totodile at 18. I don't know why they would have separated those, but they decided to do that.
Yeah, I can say like I only have one Pokemon evolution so far of all the Pokemon I caught at the end of this like league, which is unusual after like the second gym.
I'll also say it was in Union Cave where my egg hatched. Did any of your eggs hatch by this time?
This is where my egg hatched as well.
Me too.
Wow.
Shocking. And what Pokemon was inside the egg, guys?
Togepi.
Togepi!
Which brings us into our second Pokédex highlight. So Togepi's Pokédex reads, proverb claims that happiness will come to anyone who can make a sleeping Togepi stand up. So we gotta figure out how to make a sleeping Pokemon stand up.
Do you guys remember Togepi in the anime?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was Ash's egg, and then I remember it hatched, and the first trainer it saw was Misty, so that became Misty's Pokemon for forever.
Hey, that's not a water-type Pokemon.
And she had to carry around that little egg for the entire Johto journeys.
Well, because it's so adorable.
Moving on, what else is in the Union Cave? There is a new trainer type, which is the trainer type that Sean is based off of, the Fire Breather Bill. So this was our first time that we got introduced to him. And he was apparently upset about the Zubats in the cave and their supersonic ability, saying there's too many Zubats around, which I can wholeheartedly agree with that.
Has he ever been to Kanto?
And I also met the old Pokemon Hunter rival, back from Generation 1. There's a collecting rival called Pokemaniac Larry. Well, he had a Slowpoke, and this was my first time seeing Slowpoke in Generation 2, and I do have to say this was one of my least favorite sprites so far, just because it feels like he's just kind of like lax on his back, just hanging out. Did not like this one compared to the first, from Pokemon Yellow sprite.
You don't like him chilling?
I did not.
I wanted to say I made a note of him as well, that when he said he was a collecting rival and said he must be talking about Dustin.
Yeah, Yellow from back then, but no longer. I'm the gentleman trainer. Oliver Olivine. And my one last note that I have here is if you do go deeper into the cave, apparently you hear a deep roar from inside the cave on weekends. So I did try and go on a weekend, but I wasn't able to go further because you do need surf if you want to surf on that water.
I wonder what's there.
There's a nice surprise later. We should go back.
We'll have to see. Since I have the water type Pokemon starting off, I'm probably not going to use any future water Pokemon in my party.
How do you know it's a water Pokemon?
I have a feeling I may not be able to use that Pokemon, but we'll see.
But at this point in time, it sounds like everyone had a fun adventure in Union Cave. And then when you exit, you enter Route 33, which there really isn't much here. I think there's one trainer and then just a little patch of grass.
A little poison cure berry, but yeah, nothing really happening.
And there is the Slowpoke Well on the way into the town, which it does have a sign outside, and it's also known as the Rainmaker Well. Locals believe a Slowpoke's yawn can summon rain, and records show that a Slowpoke's yawn ended a drought 400 years ago. So they actually correlated that Slowpoke yawn to ending a drought. I wonder how scientifically proven that is.
Boo, no science. This is the world of Pokemon.
Going into Azalea Town, one thing I noted is that this is really hard for me to say because this is the first area that has a gym leader that is not called a city. Or at least it's the first one that's called a town, because I guess you could say Cinnabar Island and Kanto. But all the towns used to be reserved for small little areas without gyms, like Pallet Town or Lavender Town. And now Little Azalea Town has its own gym, which is really confusing. The first thing I did was go over to Kurt's house, but did you guys do anything else that you want to talk about?
I guess before I even went to Kurt's house, I went to the Poke Center, and one of the people there mentioned that apricorns were used before Pokeballs were invented, so alluding to Kurt's house.
Before I got to Kurt, the first thing I did was I went to the Pokemart because I wanted to buy some Pokeballs, but then I saw that they're selling a charcoal, which is an item that if you hold it, boosts the power of fire-type moves, but it costs 9,800 Poke Dollars, which is quite a lot of money for right now. But then once when I saw that, I decided I didn't want to buy any more Pokeballs. I was just going to save up and hopefully buy that.
Yeah, that's really expensive. And that's another one of those easy mode, hard mode things where they tried to make it a little easier for Chikorita's team and they just give you the Miracle Seed, whereas Sean, your team has to go ahead and purchase that charcoal.
Yeah, very true. It's unfair. But then again, I also have a Klava at this point in time, so...
That is true.
But yeah, so then we go to Kurt, and you talk to him, and doesn't want to make any Pokeballs right now. He seems a little bit fed up. Why is he fed up, Chris?
He's fed up because... I actually don't, know the exact thing to say there. It's about the Slowpoke Well, right?
Yeah, it's because Team Rocket is apparently stealing Slowpokes and cutting off their tails. It's pretty messed up.
And this is also where we get a mention of when this takes place after the first generation, where they say that Team Rocket are back after a 3-year hiatus. So it took them 3 years to come back from hiding and restart their business. I thought that was quite interesting.
Did you guys by chance look at the picture on Kurt's wall?
I did not.
I did not notice it.
Oh, there's a picture. I actually want you guys to go back if you're in your game not too far away, because it's really weird. It's like you view it and, well, you can't see the picture, but a text comes up that says, "Is that a young Professor Oak? ? So I'm like, what? Were they friends, or is he in the photo, or why is Oak just on the wall?
I'm a big fan of Professor Oak there, it seems.
Obviously, they have to be related or something.
He gets pretty fired up when you talk about the Slowpoke Well and Team Rocket, and he just runs off.
So it's our duty to run after him to make sure he's safe. So we head back to Slowpoke Well, and in this case, there's no one blocking it. Beforehand, there was someone blocking it. I did talk to that person beforehand, and it just says like a good Samaritan is preventing people from going in because it's unsafe to go inside. But now there's no one blocking it, so I guess it's no longer unsafe to jump down the well.
Random thought. I thought it was really interesting choice of words with Good Samaritan, with the word Samaritan having biblical origins to Israelites back in 2,000 years ago. I don't know. I was like, I feel like that's not a term that they would use in today's Pokemon games to avoid real world comparisons. But side tangent.
With no Good Samaritan left around, you go inside and you find out that Kurt fell down the well and he hurt his back. So it looks like there was a good reason for someone just protecting the well. Oh, but wait, the person who was blocking the well was just someone from Team Rocket too, because he had the same garb. So they weren't Good Samaritan at all.
No, they weren't, because if you go further into the well, the first person you fight is Team Rocket. It's like, oh, I was there until that old man yelled at me.
I did record after being that first Team Rocket member that he does admit to hacking off Slowpoke tails for profit. I guess they'll do anything to make profit nowadays.
Sounds like they're a little bit more desperate than they used to be.
I know, they're just trying to capture Pokemon, trying to take over Silph and some other hideouts, and now they're cutting off Pokemon tails.
Hey, when you get destroyed, you have to come back somehow.
It is worth noting that there is a 15% chance of encountering a Slowpoke. I don't know if you guys caught one.
I did. Look at me catching Pokemon, and then I named it Tail.
Are you rubbing in its face that it doesn't have a tail, or is this one okay with its tail?
I don't know. One or the other.
Oh, man. I mean, this was a mess up, Eric, because you do encounter a few Slowpoke without their tail just walking around. one of them was carrying a note that said to be good and look after the house with grandpa. So just pulling your heartstrings a little bit there that this Slowpoke got kidnapped.
Yeah, poor Slowpoke.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that one was, if that was like, it said love dad, I think. And I can't tell if the dad went away, passed away, what happened there, because he's not in the house. So that could be actually pretty sad.
It can be, but I think it's also shows. I don't know. I'm pretty sure in this game you could buy mail as well, and you could have your Pokemon hold mail for when you trade it to another trainer that it could actually be holding a little message. And so I guess that's one way to kind of attempt to show off that mechanic.
Just in a very sad manner.
Yeah,
Very sad
and depressing.
I did get a Slowpoke too, so this is the final Pokédex highlight of the episode. Slowpoke's entry reads, a sweet sap leaks from its tail's tip. Although nutritious, the tail is pleasant to chew on. So I guess this is the reason why everyone is now ganging Slowpoke's tails, which is interesting because they really like added this into the Pokédex with Generation 2. I never noticed this in the first generation mentioning anything about the Slowpoke tail.
It kind of makes sense because that's how they evolve. Is they get the clamp. What's it called? The
Shelter.
Shelter. Yes, I was going to call it clamp pearl, and I'm like, that's not the right one. It's when the shelter bites its tail end, and then it turns into the Slowbro.
That's true. I am actually going to see if I could find the Pokédex entry from the first generation. Unless Chris, as the researcher.
Yeah, Chris, you should just know that off the top of your head.
Okay, Slowpoke's entry. Incredibly slow and dopey. It takes 5 seconds for it to feel pain when under attack.
Oh, so yeah, I feel there's just like a big difference in Pokédex entries there, which was interesting.
I can go over the Pokedex entry in Crystal as well, which is a little interesting, where it says, it is always so absent-minded that it won't react, even if its flavorful tail is bitten. So it makes it sound like this is easy money for Team Rocket. They can cut it off and the Slowpoke won't do anything about it.
And I love how, like, the Pokédex entries, are these entries that, like, the professors are playing or researchers? Because the idea of just, I feel like they're just taunting Slowpoke at that point, just being like, hey, like, you know, it will be distracted. You can cut it off here. It's got a flavorful tail.
I blame Professor Elm. Yeah, there's a couple trainers in the Slowpoke Well. So the Team Rocket members are still just called Rocket Grunts. However, there are both male and female variants now, which I don't think we had a female variant in Red and Blue, and in Yellow unless you count Jessie. And then also, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the female variant, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Jessie when I saw that sprite.
I know there were Team Rocket members introduced in the anime in the Johto era. I don't remember much about them. I remember them being named Butch and Cassidy after Butch Cassidy, but I don't know if that's anything related to these character models in the game. And then I know I talked to one of them after I defeated them, and it was kind of interesting that the Team Rocket Grunt said, man, we need money, but cutting off Slowpoke tails? I don't know, man. At least this guy had a little bit of a heart.
Not enough to stop him from doing it, though.
And finally, when you do encounter the last Team Rocket grunt here, they did confirm that Team Rocket broke up 3 years ago, and now they operate underground. So seems like no one knows where their leader is to come out of hiding.
I actually don't remember anything about their leadership in this game, so I'm really excited to keep playing and figure that out.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Giovanni.
I know Sean knows. Don't spoil it.
I was just going to say, if we remember from the last game, he said he was going to go away and research Pokemon. And so 3 years has passed since he said that to the protagonist of the first game.
At least I do have one note here. When I was fighting against that last grunt, they had a coughing, and most of my Pokemon weren't effective against this coughing. So a lot of them did faint, and it wasn't like I was trying to train all my lower level Pokemon, and I just basically had to rely on my Totodile to wipe it out, but it was quite annoying.
It sounds like we all saved the town, Azalea Town, from the Team Rocket menace. And then Kurt returns. Did you guys ever speak to him after all those events to see if he may want to make you a Pokeball?
Yes, and I don't even think you explained yet, but if you do go to Kurt, you can hand over any apricorns you receive to make the Pokeballs.
Yeah, and so at this point in the game, we only have access to the white apricorn, and that turns into a fastball. But I think now would be a good time for me to mention how deeply flawed this mechanic is in this generation, because almost every single one of these balls that Kirk makes does not work correctly. I can't tell you off the top of my head how this the fastball that you get from the white apricorn, how that does not work, but I want to say instead of working against the fastest Pokemon, it actually works in the opposite, where it works against the slowest Pokemon, but I don't remember if that's correct.
Oh boy. Good job, programmers.
But yeah, so each and every one of these balls you get from Kirk do not work as they're intended. So I'm sorry. I think the only one that does work as intended is the lure ball, but every single other one does not. So fair warning.
I did notice that it does take 1 day to make them in the real world, which I never actually went back to even pick up that Pokeball. I totally forgot about it until I read this note right now.
I got it. And my inner 8-year-old kept coming out because balls wasn't all cap.
I did take one other note in Kurt's house before leaving, where if you do talk to his daughter, she does mention that Slowpoke tails can grow back. So maybe that's another reason why people just keep cutting them off, because it's keeps growing back.
So I just looked up to confirm what was the issue with the Quick Ball. And so the Quick Ball was supposed to work better on all the Pokemon that flee, but for whatever reason, it only worked on the first 3 Pokemon that have that chance to flee. It works only on the Grimer, Magnemite, or Tangela.
Just 3 Pokemon?
Yes. It has no effect. It's just a basic Pokeball on any other Pokemon.
Wow.
So now you know.
I'm not gonna get him to make any of my Pokeballs at that point.
Sean, did you by chance talk to the charcoal maker or the charcoal maker's assistant at all in this game?
Well, so I didn't speak to them at this point. I did eventually speak to them and then put 2 and 2 together. Like, oh, that's why they're selling charcoal here, because the charcoal maker's here. But yeah, I didn't realize until a little bit later.
I can see that is a potential item you can get in Azalea Town. And Bulbapedia lists something called the GS ball that you can maybe get in Pokemon Crystal, which we will save for another day, but let's keep that in the back of our head.
So going into the second gym with the Bug-type trainer and Bugsy, you're only able to take 3 Pokemon in. Which Pokemon did you take in, starting with Sean?
All right. Well, I have to, of course, bring in my Cyndaquil, the Cyndaquil. And then I still have Rocky the Onyx, who is the traded Onyx that we get at the first town. And then I added my Pika Fluff, the Flaffy, which also through most of this run, those are just the 3 Pokemon in my main party. So that's why if they get a little high level, it's because I like to only have, as many Pokemon as I'm planning to use in the gym in my actual party. So they're just the 3 Pokemon I've been using this entire time.
I'm lucky I did not take Maripin to this gym. I did kind of have a feeling Sean would take it, and in the case he did, he probably would be in me. But in this case, I took Geodude, which I named Stalwart, just because it sounded like a gentlemanly rock name. Then we have the classics, the Sentret, my Commodore S, and Todel Admiral Todd.
Then the 3 Pokemon that I brought into this one was my starter, that was Chica, the Chikorita. And then I have Hootie, the Hoot Hoot. That was for obvious reasons. With it being a bug type gym, I needed some advantage finally, which was a flying type move. And then it was a toss-up of who to do next, but I brought in my Teddy Ursa Teddy just as a normal attacker for this one.
And going in, I don't really have any notes of all the smaller trainers other than that they are small. Little girls are literally the first trainers that you face against.
I will say my only note going in was at this point in time, I hadn't really been using Onyx, and I didn't realize, because I think I mentioned the first gym, that he stopped listening to me because he got too high of a level. At this point in time, I think he's level 14, and he still doesn't listen to me. So I was trying to get him some XP, but it was just so frustrating to use him because he would be falling asleep or not even attacking. It's just very frustrating.
And is it just after the first gym? Was the level cap that you can train Pokemon up to before they stop listening?
It depends on how many badges you have. I didn't pay attention because I just assumed after being the first gym leader, my Onix would start listening to me. But that was a bad assumption to make. So I know what the level cap is after the second gym badge, though. But beforehand, I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes for the side trainers, but I do have some fun stories about Bugsy if we're ready to go into that.
I think we are ready. Tell your fun story, Chris.
So I went into this with my 3 Pokemon, and I just had an idea of let's just go through it with Hoot Hoot here and just peck away. It should be fine. He has a Metapod, a Kakuna, and then Scyther is his big, strong Pokemon. So I get through Metapod, I get through Kakuna with a bunch of pecks. My Hoot Hoot loses a little bit of HP due to Tackle or Poison Sting, but nothing much. So then he brings out Scyther. And I say, okay, I'm doing pretty good. I have my other 2 Pokemon and I haven't taken much damage. Let's weaken this thing. So I start using Growl. I think I'm doing the smartest thing. I use 2 Growls. But then he keeps using Fury Cutter against me. He uses it once, not very effective, doesn't do much. One more time, does a little more. And then before I know it, he's taking down my Hoodoo. And I say, okay, whatever, let's just defeat Scyther with my other 2 Pokemon. As he proceeds to one-shot my next 2 Pokemon. And I'm looking at this like, what the heck just happened? What? I've never used Fury Cutter in my life. What is this move? And I look into it and hold on, let me just double check it to make sure I have the correct power. In Generation 2, Fury Cutter starts with a base power of 10, and each time it's successfully used, it doubles its power. So my 2 Growls initially were doing nothing as it kept doubling up its power from 10 to 20 to 40 to 80 to eventually 160. Oops.
Oh, you learned a lesson that day, Chris.
So I went in a second time, now knowing this and just...
Whoa. You actually lost to Bugsy? You lost to everyone there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Chris
whoa.
lost to Bugsy. Chris lost to Bugsy.
So second gym, we actually have our first wipeout.
No, I whited out, remember?
I whited out the first gym too.
You both whited out the first gym?
Yeah.
No, I whited out my first Pokemon I ever fought, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I lost the first gym.
Wow. This is a good thing we are not doing a Nuzlocke this round.
See, and you want to do Nuzlocke.
I really want to do I have not whited out yet.
Yeah, I went in a second time, packed away. Interestingly enough, he brought out Scyther second this time. I don't know why he would do that, but he did. And I was able to get rid of him because now that I realized that the first Fury Cutter is a 5 power move, so it's not very effective against my Hoot Hoot, I got through him, beat him. In a cruel twist of fate, gave me the TM for Fury Cutter and told me that he invented or found the move. So good for you, Bugsy.
The move that put you in the grave.
I lost my Nuzlocke.
Oof. Well, in my case, I don't have any stories here other than luckily for Sentret, finally got Quick Attack, which beforehand I was just using Tackle and it dealt no damage. So Quick Attack was a big help. And after this battle, I did get my first evolution. So Sentret evolved into Purret, which was exciting.
Fun. My story, I just led with Palava and I used Ember 4 times. And that is my gym experience.
So we all got the high badge. Now Pokemon up to level 30 will obey us, and we can now use Cut outside of battle. Let's move into my favorite segment of the show, Pokestats. I can go first, starting off with the time it took and the Pokedex. So it took me at this point 8 hours and 22 minutes to beat the second gym, and 24 Pokemon is how much I caught.
Wow.
Let's go with Chris.
My time to complete was 7 hours and 33 minutes, and my Pokedex was 31, although I will admit I did travel into the next area and catch one Pokemon accidentally because I didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to go there yet. And there's no grass, and you just find a wild encounter, and I found a rather rare one, so I caught it.
Wow.
But I'm still just gonna say 31.
Chris, I literally, like, in our outline here, I have every single like route outline for each gym. So
I was just walking around and I was like, I don't think there's anything to do here. And then I was like, definitely not. Let's go back. And I found one Pokemon and I was like, I should catch it.
Well, I had a time of 5 hours and 22 minutes and a Pokedex of 13.
oh boy. So just to recap, me and Chris played about like 3 hours. I played about 3 hours and 52 minutes. Chris played 3 hours and 21 minutes. And then Sean played 2 hours and 20 minutes since our last gym. And in Pokemon caught, Chris caught 13, I caught 10, and Sean caught 6.
Hey.
Don't forget the 4 other unknown.
Yeah, exactly.
New Pokemon, I do have to preface that. And just to compare how we were doing with our second gym and like our first generation, like the highest amount of playtime we had was 6 hours and 15 minutes. So it looks like Sean is still on track for our playthroughs then, but we are overall playing a lot longer than we did in the first generation, which is kind of cool. They did add a lot more gameplay, I feel.
A lot more Pokemon.
Yes, they definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the most Pokemon we caught by the second gym was 21, and you caught like 31, so 10 more Pokemon in this case.
A lot of good variety. I like it.
And let's go into the Pokemon parties. So I can go again. Let me make sure I write this down real quick. So my Geodude Stalwart was level 13, definitely the lowest. I just needed a third Pokemon to take me into this gym. The Furret Condor S was my second strongest at level 16, and then my starter Pokemon Totodile, Admiral Tot, was level 17, my highest level Pokemon.
So yeah, the 3 Pokemon I took in, I still have Hootie the Hoot Hoot. That was level 16. I have Chica, now the Bayleaf, that just evolved at 16. And I have Teddy the Teddy Ursa at 16. I kept them all pretty consistent here.
I had Rocky the Onyx at level 15. I had my Pika Fluff, the Flaffy, and she was level 16. And then Cinder the Kalava at level 17.
Looks like Chris and Sean had the same average Pokemon level of 16, and mine was 15.3. If you guys remember, like, I did not level up my Totodile that much since the first gym. He was level 15 and now level 17. I tried my best to level up all my other Pokemon. So between gyms, I only leveled up my Pokemon about like 1.8 levels, while Chris, you did 3.5 and Sean did 4 levels. So Sean gained the most levels since our last gym. And now we can move into our final segment, the Johto Battles. And this episode's a special case because we actually did battle in person a couple days ago. So we're going to just try and recap what happened there.
Yeah, which was honestly the first time we had ever done this in a Gen 2 game. And it was really fun to actually do it in person with the actual link cable. And that's how we did it. And played our battles as the Pokemon Company intended back in, 2000? Is that when this game came out?
2000, yeah. Can I just note, even though this is the Johto Battle segment, this is related. Since I'm playing Pokemon Crystal and I have the ability to be a girl, I'm a female trainer. When I went in to battle you guys, they gave me a costume and made me dress up exactly like Ethan or Gold, the protagonist. So that's why you guys saw me as a male trainer, because those were not invented in your games. That's how they got around that.
So going into this round, Dustin is 2-0, Chris is 1-1, I am 0-2. And so we decided to have what should have been the most lopsided battle first, and then the closest battle last. So the most lopsided battle would have been me versus Dustin, since he has 2-0, and I was 0-2. And so for this battle, it was there were so many switches. We kept on switching in Pokemon back and forth. Basically, it came down to my Onix was able to take down Dustin's Geodude. And then after that happened, Dustin really didn't have an actual answer to my Flaffy. And so it was again just a bunch of switches until I eventually was able to take down Dustin's Totodile and then Furret.
I feel like I definitely lost just in the Pokemon choosing stage, because if I chose like different Pokemon up first, it would have went differently.
Yep, but that happened. So now I have my first W back into this. All right, moving on. It was then me versus Chris. And this battle, it's just unfortunate that Quilava is much better than a Bayleaf at this point in time. And that's just kind of how that entire battle went.
Yeah, I had some bad luck on that one. I don't remember which Pokemon it was, but you definitely got a critical hit and a burn against me. And once that happened, I knew that I was out. There was no way I could beat you.
So the first round, I didn't use my Quilava at all against Dustin, and I'm pretty sure for Chris, I only used my Quilava, so it was quite a switch.
Yeah, Sean was dominating most of it. I think I was able to take down one of your Pokemon, right? Was it Quilava?
I think I switched in Did I sacrifice my Onix?
No, you didn't bring in Onix.
I think, no, I did sacrifice my Quilava then, and then I used my Flaffy to clean up after that.
Yeah, with my Bayleaf, I was able to get one of your Pokemon down, and then I was hoping that you'd throw out Onix because Bayleaf could one-shot it, but you were smart, and I only got one of your Pokemon taken down.
And then the last match was between Dustin and Chris, and from what I remember, Chris's Bayleaf basically took out most of Dustin's team.
Yeah, that was a strong one.
Yeah, I won this one 3-0. Part of it, too, was you had that Geodude. I remember I took it down with a Razor Leaf. Your Totodile didn't stand much of a chance, so you had Furret, but yeah, Furret could only do so much. So I won one. Yay.
I would like to mention, I mean, it's all because you guys still have these like starter evolutions. My Totodile still hasn't evolved yet. You know, that's the reason I lost there. Nothing else.
That's on you.
Is your Furret not evolved?
Hey, my Commodore can't carry me this time. I need my Admiral up there, up front center.
But then if everyone's paying attention, at this point in time, we are all tied at 2-2. So it's still, the Johto region is still anyone's game. But I am back in my winning ways, and I don't plan on looking back.
It is very exciting because we've never been tied before. So it's cool, just the second gym and the second generation, we finally reached this point. That brings us a close to this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. If you do want to see our cool teams or even the stats, you can always follow us on Twitter at The Trainer Trio, and you can also email us if you have any questions or stories of your own at thetrainertriopodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, come follow us, because in our next episode, we will be talking about our experiences leading up to the next gym leader, the true normal trainer, Whitney.
True normal trainer. My previous self feels attacked.
Well, Chris, you should, because you didn't have a milk tank like this Whitney does, so...
I can't wait.
And I mean, you know, the normal trainer did lose the Johto Battles, so...
Beer, 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 beer.
We'll have to see if you white out in the next episode. 3 gyms.
Oh, that's back-to-back shots!
Let me see how you do against that milk tank. Let me see.
Anyways, until next time, we are the Trainer Trio signing off. Catch you in Goldenrod City, trainers.
Make sure to keep your rod golden.
Shut up, Chris.